So for those of you that are familiar, you have Azure Active Directory, which is included with Office 365, but there are premium tiers that are included with the M365 licenses. For any engagement that we work on now, I absolutely use minimum recommendations. You look at Azure AD Premium, and that's because it comes bundled with conditional access and multi-factor authentication. So straight away, that adds that extra layer to stop those password-based attacks, which is the biggest chunk of attacks that that hackers use to get access to environments. So the additional access, you can put different rules, different apps for different services, for different scenarios, so you can control the behavior of the login request and what can be accessed. So whether you turn on MFA if you're outside the office but have no MFA when you're in the office on a trusted device, for example, and also you have the ability to integrate sort of other third-party apps into this authentication method using Azure AD single sign-on, and you can also extend that to even to the on-prem world, and you've got the application proxy that can again leverage some of these capabilities to give you that full control. So just to walk through a couple of examples. So if you've got a user who's a sales account rep, he's in the London users, he's on his mobile device, he's using a corporate proxy, he's based in London, he last signed in five hours ago. The device is on this fully patched, it's managed, and it was last seen in London. It's going to be given a low risk. So they can allow access to a fairly low level application that doesn't have any major security considerations, because it's just an expense. In a different example, you've got somebody a bit more senior, so a vice president of marketing who's in the executive users group, again using a mobile, kind of by the proxy in London, last signed in 5 hours ago. Again, the healthy device in the right location, but the flag is in a sensitive group, and he wants to access a confidential app, so the sales data. So the risk can be kept roughly the same, but you are enforcing conditional access, multi-factor authentication here, to provide that additional layer to prove who they are. And then if you have someone who's a sales representative, again in the right groups, using an approved mobile device, again in London, and then was last seen in London 5 hours ago, and then someone's trying to access via a browser, the health is unknown on the device, it's anonymous, it was last seen in Asia. So there's two sort of triggers here: one, the anonymous IP, and two, the fact that it's an unfamiliar sign-in location for the user. So that conditional access rule can be triggered, and if you're using some of the more advanced licenses, you have the ability to have risk-based like this, and it can block access and force password reset without any intervention by an IT staff member. Moving on to device management. So within M365, you have Microsoft Intune, also now known as Microsoft Endpoint Manager. And that is a comprehensive solution to manage devices, both mobile operating systems, so iOS and Android, as well as Windows PCs. It also does support Macs, and while those features aren't as feature rich as the Windows ones for obvious reasons, they are very, very powerful and getting there, shall we say, as well. And you're able to enforce things around compliance, configuration from those devices to ensure that the users are accessing your data from the most secure way possible. So if we sort of focus on sort of the mobile devices initially, so traditionally you either enroll the device completely and have full mobile device management. So that means you can control the whole device. You can wipe it when you're ready. And the problem with that is now, as more and more people have their own smartphones and are accessing data off their own devices, a lot of people don't want to have their personal devices fully enrolled when they've got their own pictures and their own data on it, and that could be potentially wiped by an organization. So that's where Intune's mobile application management features come in, or MAN. So this means that you haven't got to enroll and have the whole device owned by corporate IT effectively, and you can target the apps and ensure that you're still in control of the access of the data, but you haven't got the ability to wipe the whole phone, for example. And it gives you the flexibility to enable users to work how they want to. You're layering up the security, you apply the different methodologies and technologies, but you're enabling people to work how they wish to work from the device they need to work from. So there's a number of controls within 365 around data. So you've got things like data loss prevention, which obviously stops data leaking outside the organization, but there's always data that you need to share and then that you traditionally would lose control for. So it's how do you maintain control of the data once it leaves the organization, and also on your more sensitive stuff, how do you control that access and that behavior even more within the internal platforms as well. Data loss prevention. is integrated across sort of the Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams sort of tools within 365. You want to make sure that you don't share things accidentally, whether that's, I don't know, GDPR sensitive data, UK personal information, etc. And this all integrates into the desktop versions, as well as the web-based versions of Excel, PowerPoint, and Word. There are some built-in templates within the DLP engines within 365. So things around, as you can see in the examples there. So you've got EU credit card numbers, UK passport numbers, etc. as well. And there's also things around GDPR and data protection in the UK. So you can build out some quite basic, simple policies very, very easily without needing to go down into the customization. But then if you do have your own specific requirements and you want to use regexes to target specific things that are sensitive to your organization, you can build out rules to enable that as well. You then got Azure Information Protection. So this is sort of an engine that can apply policies based on a label that's applied to a document or a file. So in the screenshot there, you can see that this document has been recommended to have a confidential tag applied to it, and then you can have the relevant policies assigned to that. I'll come on to how the data is classified and the labels applied in a second. But some of the features that you can do is you can control whether a document can be edited, printed, viewed by non-employees. You have the ability to revoke access even if it's been sent externally. You can get notifications if it's forwarded to other people, and there's also a web view where you can see where that's been opened as well. So yeah, the way that these classifications can happen there's a couple of ways, and again, some of these are restricted by the license type. There's a P1 and a P2, which is built into either EMS, E3, or E5 as part of M365. So you've got user-driven classification, where a user can go create a file and then apply a tag from the toolbar, as you saw in that previous screenshot. You can then manually reclassify that as a user, and you can enforce that if a reclassification happens, the user has to put into a text box what the reason they're doing that, so it's all logged, so you've got that audit log for tracking what's happened. You can have recommended classifications, so it can analyze what's going on in the file. So for example, if you've got a credit card policy, it can detect the credit card number and it can recommend the credit card policy is applied. And the same for automatic, it can understand what's in that file and automatically apply a policy based on the types of data that it's seeing in that document, or keywords, for example. And as we mentioned, those labels and those policies are persistent with that document. So if I wrote a proposal, applied a confidential tag to it, which had an encryption policy that enforced the fact that users couldn't print it or screenshot it, and I sent that out externally to a customer, those policies will still apply. So I'm always in control, and I can actually revoke access to that document or set an expiry if I so wished. Sensitivity labels are also readable within DLP as well, so you can actually use DLP to apply policies to stop certain labels from sharing externally as well. So these tools will complement each other, and you get that sort of holistic